Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talking Television Podcast with Jay and Chris. And tonight we are talking about Warrior Season 1, Episode 8. And this is going to be a great episode because we're on our third drink for the night.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, so we picked up a new bottle, and it is a very good one. You want to tell us what we're drinking?
I do. Yeah, first time having, this is Four Roses. This is a single barrel of theirs. I highly recommend it. It is very smooth, got great flavor. Straight or with a mixer, however you prefer it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we have about half the bottle gone so far.
Not only that, but it was very economical. I think it was $32, $33.
30 range, yeah. 30 to 35-ish.
So for the money, it's probably one of the best whiskeys I've had. And this is a Kentucky bourbon.
Yes.
So yeah, we definitely recommend that. We will shout out to the Four Roses brand out on Twitter and Instagram. And if you're on Twitter and Instagram, you should follow us there at Southport Media.
Yes, please do. Like, subscribe, comment. We love all the feedback and interacting with you guys. So, and we'll keep it coming.
And if you're on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. We're not going to spam you. We'll just pop up in your feed every once in a while when we drop a new episode.
Definitely.
All right, so this episode, we were left on a cliffhanger after episode 7, and we jump right back into the fight.
Yeah, so episode 7 left us with the Hopway and the Long Z racing toward each other in the middle of the streets.
Yes.
And right as they were about to clash, it went dark.
Mm-hmm.
So we get to see where the fight takes place in this episode.
So one interesting thing we learned about this episode is Lee Young mentioned, hey, we have enough muscle to fight them if we use, the third tong. But on their own, I still don't think they're powerful enough to fight back.
During the fight, which is a really good fight, it's... hack 'em up, hatchets and knives and kicks and all sorts of stuff are flying. Only 11 died.
Yep.
Which I was kind of surprised with. I thought there would be more deaths just based on how gruesome, the fight sequence was. Yeah, it was a little lopsided. The Hopway and the Long Z. The Hopway only lost 4, where the Long Z lost 7. So you can just tell by that battle, where the strengths lie. There's obviously a lot more injured, but yeah, the Hopway kind of got the best of them there.
Yeah, it sounds like they have the more skilled fighters there, other than Lee Young. He seems to really be the only one that's skilled on the other side.
Yeah, he's a force to be reckoned with. So
every time he's sparring, he's just throwing all the other guys around.
Yeah, what we've seen in the intro leading up to every episode, we actually encounter that in this episode. They show that training sequence, both with Lee Young and Assam.
Speaking of the trading sequence, yeah, Assam with the wooden dummy, we finally got to see him really put in a lot of work and training time on it. And we only saw a few seconds in an earlier episode, but that was really, really cool to see and see him practicing more Wing Chun, which we haven't seen a whole lot of on the show yet. That opening fight, let's talk about that. Obviously, they must have used a ton of stunt doubles and fight choreographers, and I wonder how long it actually took them to shoot that. It was probably a multi-day process.
I'd have to say that was several days. They actually said that they had extras that they brought in for that, that they, action extras, if you will, where they actually trained them to do some, a little bit of, fighting, more than just kind of standing there holding, an axe or whatever. They actually had to move around and interact with the actors. So that must have been a cool day for those guys. But yeah, I don't know exactly how many people they had fighting, roughly, 30-ish, 30 to 40 maybe. Mm-hmm. But that must have been a fun scene to be part of. Yeah,
it looks super cool. I've seen a few behind the scenes pictures like from the sidelines filming, and it looked like a lot of fun.
Definitely.
So after that, we see kind of the aftermath of Penny from the last episode, and she's waking up kind of doped up after sleeping with the mayor and drugging herself. And we kind of see some fallout from this episode.
She wasn't happy for that.
No.
Having to actually sleep with her husband and be put in that position. Not a fan of that.
Yeah, and she talked with Assam this episode and said, look, hey, I was waiting for you. Where the hell were you? And then she kind of moved on to what kind of future do the two of us have? And she kind of broke it off.
Yeah, it was a breakup for sure. He said I had something come up, and he never actually revealed to her what the cause of his absence was. Maybe he will in the future. Maybe they'll have a chance to, get back together. But she pretty much broke up with him for the fact of we're never going to be anything outside of this room.
Mm-hmm.
You know, prior to that, she had to sleep with the mayor, her husband, per her father's request to get the contracts. So yeah, she's just in a tough place, and unfortunately, Assam kind of got the brunt end of that this episode.
Yeah, she seems to kind of be getting fed up with the position she's in. So not only does she break up with Assam, but later on there's a political meeting going on, and she really speaks up and speaks her mind.
I think she was leading up to, you know, her whole arc, her character arc, was leading up to this moment. In the behind the scenes, you know, the actress, she actually talked about that. She was looking forward to this episode because this was where her voice was going to be heard. And yeah, during that donor meeting at her house for the mayor, yeah, she let her voice be heard. And her husband was not happy about it.
Not one
Threatened
bit.
to kick her out of the house. You know, what are you doing? You're making me look bad. And she didn't care.
No, she didn't care one bit. And, you know, that was in front of a senator who's about to make a presidential run. So that's a pretty big impact.
Definitely.
One part we see get brought up is the mayor and Buckley are chatting about all these murders in Chinatown. And they start bringing up this upcoming Exclusion Act, which is historically a act that was put in place in the United States. So to see that, you know, the early rumblings of that in the show, I think could really play into future seasons.
That's what, yeah, the politicians are pushing for this. They want, you know, the Americans, quote unquote, to have priority.
Yeah, for getting jobs and things like that.
The Chinese have come in and stolen all these jobs from them. You know, the Irish point of view, kind of Leary's group, which they highlight again in this episode, is, yeah, we're sitting around, we can't work, there's no jobs for us, because the Chinese are taking them all. You know, they're undercutting us with prices.
And we see that directly in this episode. I mean, they say they've been out of work for several weeks, and
they actually show, you know, a wagon full of Chinese going to, you know, a job site of some sort, and the Irish workers are, you know, huffing and puffing, and they're throwing rocks at them as they pass. You know, Leary is leading the cause, of course.
Yeah. Then they attribute the Chinese workers to taking their jobs, and you know that it looks like that's going to be. It's kind of been bubbling up for the whole season, but it looks like it's either going to come to a head, or maybe this is going to be the season 2 arc is really between the Irish and the Chinese after the Chinese tongs start fighting each other.
Yeah, and Penny's father actually meets with Leary at this point, and you know he's been awarded the contract supposedly from the mayor to supply the iron for the new railroad going in, and he wants to hire the Irish workers to install this. So that gives them some hope, and Leary, you know, he stands up and, you know, gives his guys, you know, the good news. Hey, we're going to be doing this, and it's going to be us working this job, not the Chinese.
Yeah, they were excited. I mean,
they were ecstatic.
They're about to get a paycheck, you know, which is huge for them.
And you could see Buckley in the background kind of listening to all this happening. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the politicians have been pushing for the Exclusion Act the whole time. So it's kind of all playing, you know, everybody's little back channeling is playing into this kind of snowball effect of what's going to happen.
I think Buckley's going to come out on top. I think he's got a long-term plan, and a lot of other people are looking, you know, very nearsighted. And
the mayor, especially, I think he's gonna be the fall guy for whatever little scheme Buckley and the senator have in the works.
Mm-hmm, definitely,
I think he's gonna be dead.
So spoiler alert, you know, we've been expecting him to die sometime this season.
Yes. But
we've been watching all the behind the scenes photos from season 2 being filmed, and we haven't seen the mayor.
Don't see him yet. Nope. So we'll see.
Him and Bolo were definitely not seen in any of those pictures, and we know what happened to Bolo.
Yeah.
Which
2 more episodes to go, so I think episode 9 is going to be a big one. I can't wait for that.
Speaking of that, when the show premiered, they sent the first 8 episodes to critics and saved 9 and 10. And we're now done with episode 8. So the next 2 episodes, as far as I know, are pretty much unseen by anybody.
Yeah, it should be fresh for everybody now.
Yeah, so that's huge. And we did hear that episode 9 has like a long, you know, oneer shot. And something that's supposedly never been done on TV before. So we are very curious what that is. But when Jonathan Tropper, you know, says something like that, it's usually pretty huge.
Yeah, so stay tuned. Watch episode 9. We will be for sure.
Yes, definitely.
And
And we'll be live tweeting during the
we
episode.
can come back and talk about it. So stay tuned for that.
So we get our buddy Chow back this episode too.
Yeah, he plays a pretty good role in this episode at several different parts.
He's kind of acting like a mediator, right? I mean, we know he's not really on anybody's side, but this episode...
He's a businessman, entrepreneur. He's got his hands in everything. So,
and he knows war is not good for business for anybody, and he wants business from both sides. So
yes,
he gets both tongs to kind of come together with another gentleman. I'm not sure who he was, but to try and get the two of them to finish settling all their beef.
Yeah, he seemed to be a prominent leader in Chinatown that both tongs respected, and they came together to kind of work this out. And you can see the competing viewpoints from both sides. You have the Hbo'S and you have the Long Z, and they're fighting over the molasses trade, the opium trade, Bolo's death. All this is kind of rolled into one fight that they opened the episode on, and it kind of comes to a point where he says, "How are we going to proceed with this? If we do a truce, it's going to be 5 years long. Let's basically have a duel, your best fighter versus their best fighter. And if the Hbo'S win, for 5 years, the Long Z can't be in the opium trade. Yep. If the Long Z win, we're going to debate about the turf that they get to deal on." And it's a big deal, having the Assam fight Li Yong.
Yeah, and it was interesting. Li Yong was kind of like, all right, let's do this. That way we don't have to lose more fighters and more muscle from our different tongs. But Young Jun was completely against it. He said, no, let's just fight it out. He's ready to just go to battle, get some blood on the ground.
He feels strongly with his guys. He's like, we just fought them in the streets and we whooped them.
Yeah.
According to Young Jun, he's like, we just owned them in the streets. Why wouldn't we keep doing that? Why go one-on-one and risk losing over a single fight?
But Father Jun kind of has a new perspective now because he almost died in the parade a few weeks ago. And then besides that, he doesn't really know what Mai Ling's up to. She's kind of new and unknown. And, he had decades of history with Long Z. So with Mai Ling, he doesn't really know what she's up to.
Yeah, having the tiger from last episode, he knew what to expect with him. But now the fox is on the prowl, and she's wanting to be the tiger. So he doesn't know what she's willing to do to become that threat. So yeah, he's kind of playing it a little safe, saying, okay, we know what to expect here if we do a duel. So let's end it now and save some bloodshed.
I'm just looking at the Four Roses again because I'm getting super tipsy.
Keep it up. Keep drinking.
Yeah, you guys should be at home drinking with us. The single barrel Four Roses is good shit.
Check it out.
Yeah.
It is worth it.
All right, so our girl, Atoy, the last episode, we saw that she was trying to buy some land from Leonard Patterson. He was kind of her front man. And this episode, he comes back to her and says, hey, the deal didn't go through. And in fact, they found out I was trying to buy on behalf of a Chinese person, and they're trying to extort us for additional money and an extra $5,000.
That's a good sum of money. They never explained how the property owners found out who he was working with, who he was partnering up with. But yeah, they said the plan as we had it to go in over asking price and swoop this up from everybody didn't work. They found out who, I'm working with, and yeah, they want more money.
Yeah, originally we thought he was just trying to squeeze a little bit of extra out of her.
That was my initial thought. He's trying to scam her out of some cash. He's coming in saying, oh yeah, they didn't take that deal. They want more. And then he's going to pocket it and be like, oh yeah, okay. It's a done deal.
But that's not the case.
We're all good. We found out a little later in the episode that he's being truthful. He's meeting with the other developers and property owners, and they say, okay, we'll accept your deal, after he hands them the extra $5,000. That's good, but I think we can be partners and make this work a little bit better. And he's hesitant. He's like, I don't think my partner's going to go for that, meaning Atoy. And who shows up to the meeting?
Yeah, Atoy, the vigilante.
Yeah, Atoy's little alter ego wielding a sword.
So I wonder if she was there to find out whether she was being double-crossed or if she really just wasn't taking any shit from these real estate guys.
She's definitely more in tune and smarter than she might have lead on.
Sure.
And yeah, that's a good point. You know, was she there to make sure that Leonard was being straight with her,
Mm-hmm.
or to show these, you know, older rich white guys that are trying to extort her, you know, who's boss? And that's kind of what ends up happening.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, she takes both of them out, and Leonard's you know, he's scared shitless. Basically, he's like, you know, what are you doing? You know, this is bad for business. And she doesn't care.
She doesn't care. She wants her money back.
Yeah, she kills him. She's like, I'm going to take my money back, and I'm protecting you, my partner. So it's a win-win in her eyes.
Yep, definitely.
We got the land, and we got our cash back. So,
but, I mean, what about the next deal? You know, I mean, who are they going to do business with if bodies keep showing up and floating in the ocean?
And that it does.
So we get to see Lee and Big Bill patrolling Chinatown at night, which is something new. And out of nowhere, we see a Feng Hai walk up, give the little money symbol.
Yeah, like, hey, Bill, you owe some cash.
Yep, and you know, he starts beating the guy with his nightstick, and you know, kind of scares him off. And Lee, he kind of knows what's going on. He says, "Hey, you know, how much are you in for?" You know.
Yeah, Lee knows. We find out his wife knows. It's really kind of the walls are caving in type of deal for Bill. And, you know, he's getting the pressure. He's feeling it from his family, his coworkers. Even the chief knows. I mean, he's got a history of gambling, so it's nothing new to them.
He does have a cool one-liner, though. He tells Lee that, you know, don't touch me unless you want to learn to start writing with your feet, which is awesome.
Yeah, because the Chinese Feng Hai that was, you know, pestering him, he pretty much broke his fingers and sent him on his way.
Yep.
So Bill's a force to be reckoned with, and his gambling habits they're closing in. He's got to address that before he gets beaten like Damon was.
Yeah, and he actually sees Damon once again this episode. Not only that, but
the ghost of Damon is haunting him.
Towards the end of the episode, he goes home and he's sitting out on the front porch smoking a cigarette, and his wife comes out and basically says, "Hey, I know you're in trouble. I know you've been gambling. How much are we in for? I married you because I know you could protect us. You know, are you going to protect us?" And he says yes. So I think he's going to take some action.
He's doing everything he can. He's killing people. He's lying. He's stealing. You know, he's kind of making the situation worse, but staying alive while doing it.
Right.
So something's got to happen to clear his slate. Otherwise, yeah,
he needs a break.
Stop.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Assam ends up kind of going back to Toy's place, and out of nowhere, we see all these masked vigilantes kind of, you know, come out of nowhere and jump him, and they all have black masks on. Then come to find out, it was Father June that sent them just to make sure he actually knows how to fight the way that Young June says he does.
Yeah, Bolo had told him, Young June had told him. He's like, I have to see this for myself. So, yeah, I think it was 5 or 6 guys, you know, masked. They kind of surround him. And Assam looks at him, and yeah, he kicks all their asses. And as soon as they're all laying on the ground, he actually pulls the mask off of one of them and recognizes it as, you know, one of the Hbo'S, one of his guys. And then, yeah, Father June, Young June, they come walking in, and he's like, all right, you passed the test, basically. I had to see it for myself. Congrats, you're the champion. You're going to go fight Lee Young now.
Yep.
So I think at this point, Assam was kind of still debating, am I really committed to the Hbo'S? Am I able to, you know, kind of, you know, skirt the outskirts of this and not get by with fighting them? But this solidifies that, all right, he's their champion. He's got to fight.
Yeah, he's in.
And when Mai Ling kind of corners him in the evening later, you know, gives him an ultimatum like, this is your last chance, you know, fake an injury, do whatever you got to do, but don't fight Lee Young. You know,
she says you're going to die.
She says you're going to die. You're going to lose. You can't beat him. And I think that kind of riles him up a little bit. Like, well, first off, now the Hbo'S, they're my boys. I'm going to fight for them.
Mm-hmm.
But also, you think I can't beat them? Like,
thanks for the vote of confidence.
Yeah, thanks for the vote of confidence. Basically, like, I'm going to fight him even harder now.
And you know what? She tells him goodbye, and it's not just for that night. She tells him goodbye, and it really seems like she's telling her brother goodbye. And I think you're gonna die. That's it. This is the last time we're gonna see each other.
She's fully committed to Lee Young winning,
Mm-hmm.
and I think she's okay with him killing her brother if it comes to that.
Definitely.
That's kind of a scary thought.
So when Assam and Mai Ling are talking, they are kind of arguing over why they think that Assam wants to fight against Lee Young. And Mai Ling says, you want to win just to prove you're the best, that you're the most badass fighter that there is.
Right.
But Assam says, no, the reason I'm trying to win is because if I lose, they're going to keep coming after you to kill you because you're the head of the snake. You're at the top. But if I can beat your fighter, we win the war, you're going to stay alive.
I don't think what Assam realizes, though, is Mai Ling and Lee Young are a thing.
Yeah, I don't think anybody knows that yet.
So, yeah, in Assam's mind, it's like, well, if I just beat him, then you stay alive, we win, which is, it sucks for you guys, but you're still alive. So that's kind of in the back of his mind, where Mai Ling is kind of like, if you die, you're gonna die. I don't care if you're my brother. Lee Young is special to me.
Mm-hmm.
You're special to me, but
not that special.
You might be just, a casualty of war for me to get where I want to be, which is kind of, for a sister to say that to a brother is pretty...
It's pretty brutal.
It's pretty brutal, that's right.
And I think it's a little column A, a little bit of column B. He does, kind of want to show that he's the most badass because, if you're a fighter, that's what you do. Yeah. But he is also thinking about his sister, but...
Well, that's the whole reason he came, to San Francisco, to America, is to find her and bring her back home. And, earlier in the season, she said, she's not interested in going back home. She's made her own life here. She's important here. And we really see that this episode, that she's committed fully to her position of now leading that tong. Killing her brother or not, that's her goal.
Yeah, and speaking of Lee Young, we saw, there's a couple different training montages, but the first one is him fighting a couple of other Long Z fighters, and it's all one scene, no cuts at all. So once again, the further we get in the season, the more comfortable all the actors and the editors are becoming.
I think they're showing off now.
Yeah, definitely.
They found their groove. They're doing a really good job of editing all this stuff together now.
Yep, and then the second montage, it does some really slick jumping back and forth between both fighters, training. And we got Assam training with, the wooden dummy, and then, Lee Young doing some fighting on his own. That was really cool to see. It was really well cut.
Yeah, that was a camera where it was almost swinging around like on a 360, and both fighters were the point that it was focusing on, and every edit just changed the scene. But yeah, the camera work, the cinematography, it's really good in the show. They're doing a good job.
And speaking of that, my favorite scene in the whole episode is where they go to kind of hash out the truce. And we're in, I don't know if it's a temple or just some community center or something, but just a super cool looking, community room. And it was really well blocked. You could see, both sides. You had Wang Chao kind of in the center trying to get the two to have a truce. And just a really beautiful room with really good lighting. And it was a great scene.
That was a good scene. Yeah, they had a couple of low shots where it was framed, beautifully. It had the Hopway on the left, the Long Z on the right, the mediator in the middle. And then over top to kind of frame everything, had, red ribbons and all sorts of streamers over top of them. It was a really pretty scene.
Yeah, if you can't tell, me and Jay really look for just, some of the odd camera angles that really make it pop, as opposed to
camera angles, unique music.
The music, yes.
Yeah.
Although this episode was pretty subdued, just like the last one, and I think they're the same director, so maybe that was his style choice. He wanted something a little more
could be
normal.
Because in the beginning of the season, they had some awesome music during fight sequences, especially.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they, we got 2 more episodes left. I hope they kind of return to those roots and have some, some funk music, some metal music, just something off the wall that just makes the scene pop and makes it special.
It makes it really memorable, It's not just just another fight scene.
Mm-hmm.
They really have their own. Each fight scene has its own character, really. Speaking of characters, a toy. I don't think she's hidden away anymore because we see her girl Lay cleaning the room, and she finds her butterfly swords in there.
Yeah, she finds her box. It's got her sword in it. She actually starts going through the motions, and
She looks trained.
she looks trained, like she's able to use it. And as she's kind of going through the motions, a toy walks in, and they don't show how she interacts with her, but she's kind of got a look of amazement on her face, like, oh, I was right about this girl.
Yep. She was worth double the price.
She was worth double the price. So that, once again, we'll see where that relationship and that new character kind of goes from here. But Atoy definitely seems to be pleased with her
purchase,
her able to use that sword. So
yep. Yeah, and someone else mentioned on Warrior After Dark on Rich Ting World's Instagram that is it something, that city that she's from? Maybe Atoy is also from there, and everybody from there has kind of been trained in the same style.
Time will tell. She hasn't really revealed, obviously her origin is important to her. That's kind of what sparked her interest in her.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
Yeah, we don't know.
Obviously, she's, trained in fighting. So there might be two
vigilantes.
Two ladies of the night out there wielding some swords.
Yeah, that would be super cool to see. At the end of the episode, we thought it was finished, but then we kind of fade back in onto a beach, and it looks like a body's washed up on shore. And they call in our Chinatown duo, both Lee and Big Bill.
Yeah, the chief actually, he makes a comment that, he brought him out there to watch Lee kind of rummage through the body and investigate it.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
The body actually turns out to be one of the, rich white, real estate tycoons that Atoy had finished off earlier.
Yeah, it looked like the one that was gutted.
And, he said the whole reason he brought them out there was, it was obviously a sword attack, that he died from a massive cut, and that, it's got to be Chinese related. He's never seen in all of his years of being a police officer a white guy cut
with a sword.
Yeah. And kill somebody. So that's why he brings in Big Bill and Lee from Chinatown to investigate it, to see what the connection is. So we'll see if that kind of catches up to Atoy. They're thinking it's a male that's doing this. They haven't pinned it on Atoy yet, thinking it's her or a female in general. So we'll see how long she can keep up her nighttime activities.
Yes. So the next episode number 9.
Yes.
The title is Chinese Boxing, which really makes sense based on the preview that we saw. And the only thing really that was shown in the preview is we see Li Yong and Assam fighting, and that's it. They don't show anything else.
Yeah, that's going to be the bulk, I think, the main point of the whole episode. We'll see who's the victor. If there is a victor, maybe something else will happen.
Yeah, maybe there's a police raid or something that cuts the fight short.
Something to eliminate there being an absolute winner, but that's the main thing for episode 9. So we'll see who comes out on top. Hopway,
Long Z, who knows?
We'll find out soon.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. 2 more episodes, winding down. Also, Chernobyl has only 2 more episodes.
Yes.
That's been a big show for us. So if you guys are finished with, or getting close to finish with Warrior, check out HBO's Chernobyl. It is extremely detailed.
Now that there's no more Game of Thrones, you guys should have so much more free time to watch other episodes of other shows.
Absolutely.
Chernobyl being one of them. Also, we've got some more shows coming up as well, so stay tuned for that.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be here coming up some more after shows and reviews for you guys. And yeah, if you guys have a suggestion, please leave it in a comment or message us, and we will get back to you and let you know if that's what's on the docket.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. Thanks for coming back every week. Looks like our audience is growing every week. So to all the new viewers, just click the subscribe button down there. And if you're listening on a podcast, come back next week, and we will have some new shows coming up very soon.
Yes. As always, Southport Media. You can find us on all the major socials. Like, subscribe, comment. As always, we appreciate it. And
Four Roses.
The Four Roses, I think, was the star of this evening.
Yes.
So, cheers to them. It's doing its job.
Yes, it is.
Thanks, guys, for watching and listening, and we will catch you next week.
Yes, we will. Episode 9. See you then.
Cheers.
Cheers.